Can you tell us more about hardening of Pharaoh's heart?
Hardening Pharaoh's heart. Pharaoh was played by Moses, it seems, from the very beginning. It seemed that Pharaoh didn't have a chance. It seemed that from a certain maneuver that Moses made in the desert, he put into action a protocol that would force the hand of Pharaoh and cause Pharaoh, through a domino effect, to make a series of mistakes or become stubborn in a way that he could not back down. And Moses would have understood that. And the most peculiar story occurs here in verse 20. And Moses took his wife and his son and set them upon an ass, and he returned to the land of Egypt. And Moses took the rod of God in his hand. And the Lord said unto Moses, When thou goest back into Egypt, see that thou do before Pharaoh all the wonders which I have put in the hand, but I will harden his heart, and he will not let the people go. This goes on for some time, and it's a fascinating story. But what seems to be happening is that, on one hand, he is with his wife, it seems for the first time. Later on, he eventually divorces his wife. But he is with his wife and his sons, and they're going back to Egypt, and something happens on the way. And he's being told, and God tells Moses, what is going to happen to you on the way? This is going to be a sign for you. And this sign you tell the Pharaoh. So this is a sort of a dream, a set of symbols within a set of symbols, which is going to be a message to Pharaoh, and which is a message to us, which is telling us a form of encryption. And this is told within 6 verses in a larger story. So it's a little bit like a riddle. And thou shalt say unto Pharaoh, Thus says the Lord, Israel is my son, my firstborn. And I have said unto thee, Let my son go, that he may serve me, and thou hast refused to let him go. Behold, I will slay thy son, thy firstborn. And it came to pass on the way at the lodging place that the Lord met him and sought to kill him. A most peculiar story. God now wants to kill, it seems, Moses all of a sudden. And then it goes on. Then Zipporah took a flint, the very flint which is in that area, which is very hard, which was used for tools and hard instruments, and cut off the foreskin of her son. She performs circumcision, the circumcision which Moses apparently did not do. And in fact, he did not do because he was entirely disconnected from the Israelite culture and from the covenant of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, and the families of Israel. He did not circumcise. And Zipporah, his wife, the daughter of the high priest of Midian, someone who was educated, who in the stories of the land, and who now understood, as she was traveling back with Moses and her 2 sons to Egypt, that they were about to be embroiled in a drama where Moses, a powerful man in Egypt, was returning with the potential to take over the succession, or to influence the succession, or to influence the empire. And she understood that she would need to choose a side. And so she took a flint and cut off the foreskin of her son and cast it at his feet. And she said, Surely a bridegroom of blood art thou to me. Because he was going to cause a lot of people to circumcise, including, not because he necessarily wanted to or did so himself, but because the position that he was going towards, unifying Israel and liberation theology and the story of the ancestors of this group to his own skills and his own ideology and his own fervency and ambitions in Egypt or vis-a-vis Egypt. This was a conflagration of circumstances and of interests which were coming to the fore in a battle where it is already presumed that Pharaoh's heart would be hardened. This stand-apart story is a form of code, which would be told to Pharaoh the events which took place. And the events that took place was the circumcision of Moses' first son. After Moses goes and says that the entire firstborn class of Egypt is in danger of being killed, he then, or his wife then, goes and protects their own son by circumcising it. If that's the way to protect their son, then many people who will side with Moses will protect their son in the same way by circumcising him. Now, this goes at the backdrop of a very interesting phenomenon which occurred in Egypt, where people started at a period of time in history for unexplained reasons to circumcise themselves. In fact, there are graphs on Egyptian walls which show the mass circumcision of people and how it was done using oils which were painkillers for the penis. So that it seems to be at the backdrop of a larger question that there was in the historical record proof that there were Canaanites or Hyksos which established bastions of strength in Egypt and on the east side of the Nile Delta, and they became so strong and controlled so many cities that they had pharaohs almost. And this story, which is in the record, in the archaeological record, seems to parallel with a story which is happening here. And we see that in fact this group of people that were exiting Egypt were strong, they were powerful, they were influential, and Moses seemed to position himself as a voice for this people, added with some local voices from Midian and some technology and knowledge of the trade routes that we've already discussed. So a battle is occurring, and there is a code which is being delivered to the Pharaoh in the story which is occurring here. A standoff is about to happen between Moses and between the Pharaoh of Egypt against a backdrop of a large population in his country that identifies with another nation in Canaan. And the basis of that identity was in circumcision. And Moses was circumcising his firstborn. And he was saying that if you are with me, you will be circumcised. And he knew that the Pharaoh could not agree with that. And the heart of the Pharaoh would be hardened.